we have got a really stacked double mythic banner. So this is going to be my breakdown and also the tier list of Astra and Anima Mythics. And we have got Heiðrún as the green infantry beast, and she does boost your resistance in the Anima season. So here she is with her Nectar Horn giving her -1 special cooldown, and it's sort of both enemy phase and player phase. If there are any foes in 3 rows and 3 columns centered on her with less resistance than her resistance +5, then she inflicts -7 attack and defense debuff, the Discord status, the Deep Wound status, and also the Null Miracle status that we have seen out of Fatal Smoke 4. So she has got a Ploy Force skill, and that is kind of reminiscent of Fallen Julia's Weapon Refine, but this is much better because she is going to be supporting even more with her preferred Slotsy skill. And this is pretty much a Ploy skill, so you will have to stack up resistance on her, and she's going to be having pretty high base resistance, so Phantom resistance is going to be really helpful on her. And then for her own combat, she's able to get -6 attack and defense debuff on the foe, and can inflict even more attack and defense debuff on the foe depending on 20% of her visible resistance. So like I said, she's going to be having high resistance, and she can easily get like -15 attack and defense in the combat. We kind of see that in the trailer itself. And then she also has flat damage reduction based on 20% of her resistance, which is going to be making her pretty bulky actually. And then she also neutralizes any kind of foe's bonuses to their attack and defense. So she has got dual attack defense, which is pretty great for an Aether Raid's defense mythic unit because you're always going to be facing units with visible buffs. And then she's able to get special charge +1 on both her attacks and the enemy's attacks. So this can make it easier for her to trigger Aegis or Pavis. And you could even run her with Miracle actually and be really annoying. And she could obviously be used with Lagoose Friend. So there, the special charges is going to be helpful with Miracle. And then because she's an infantry beast, she's able to get the full tempo effect and +7 true damage when she triggers her special. So if you're going to be running an offensive special on her, then her damage output is going to be improving. But as an Aether Raid's defense mythic unit, you're a lot of times are going to be functioning as a bulky frontliner where she's going to be using Aegis or Pavis, and then she's got Stronghold. So unfortunately, Formamilla is going to be missing out on this because it's a really good skill for increasing your visible defense and resistance. And it also cleanses any kind of panic or any kind of debuffs to your defense and resistance. So if you're trying to have any kind of defense check or resistance check, then this is pretty good. And then she has got attack defense Bulwark as her slot B skill. So this is going to be having the obstruct effect, which can be annoying in Aether Raid's offense while facing her. And then she has got Divine Nectar. So at sort of both player phase and enemy phase, she gives herself and the allies in 2 spaces the Divine Nectar status. So this is a new status which neutralizes any kind of deep wounds effects in the combat, and it also gives you 20 HP Breath of Life type of healing as combat begins. So this is Breath of Life without being Breath of Life, and then you also get 10 flat damage reduction on your first combat in both phases. And because she's an Aether Raid's defense mythic unit, the first combat matters quite a lot. So the 10 flat damage reduction is going to be really amazing for a tank. And as you'll see, she's not only good for Aether Raid's defense, but also for summoner duels. And the reason for that is because if a rally or movement assist skill is used by the ally with the Divine Nectar status active, it grants another action to that ally. So it's only once per turn, but this is really good because you're going to be able to use her in rally traps. And then after rallying, your units are going to be able to act again and basically extend their threat range. And this is going to be really good for summoner duels because we have seen duo female Robin, we have seen Brave Crom always have that utility because of the action economy, and Heiðrún is going to be a really strong unit for that, while also providing some really good support with her preferred weapon and debuffing the foes and getting rid of their healing and Miracle with her debuffs. And if that was not enough, she also gets even more things in her own combat. So she inflicts -5 attack and defense debuff on the foe if she's within 3 spaces of an ally, and she also gets the guard effect. So she is going to be having good synergy with the full tempo effect after the beast transformation. So this guard effect is good with that, and she also has the special charges. So she makes the full use out of the full tempo effect, but she doesn't really come with any kind of beast skill, so you'd probably need to run beast as the Sacred Seal. And if we unpause for a bit, you can see that she's going to be getting that Breath of Life 4 type of healing as the combat begins. So that is really good as an effect that you could give out to other units and for Heiðrún herself. And she's tanking Duo Gulvig here, who's a red unit. So She is going to be a really tanky Ether Raid's defense unit, and she's going to be quite annoying for Winter Edelgard users because she does have the weapon strangle advantage, and she is just super tanky with that flat damage reduction. Overall, Heidrun is an insane Ether Raid's defense unit as an Anima Mythic, and she gives a lot of support with her debuffs. And if that was not enough, she also makes everyone into Chroms basically by getting extra action with their assist. So that is going to be having a lot of great utility, and Divine Nectar is going to be really good with the rally traps on turn 1, especially with Freyr, because Freyr is going to be cleansing any kind of isolation status. So you can always have that rally trap go in on turn 1 and catch your opponents off guard. She herself is also going to be really tanky with the flat damage reduction, and because she's an infantry beast, she can run Lagoose Friend, so you can have even more flat damage reduction, and she does have special charges in her weapon, so she could easily be used with Aegis, Pavis, Miracle, with Lagoose Friend, and even Glacies. But if you want to have the damage reduction piercing without running Lagoose Friend, then Fierce Beast from Eikthyrnir is going to be the special that you should be running. And she's mainly going to be focusing on buffing up her defense and resistance, and that's why Phantom Resistance is good. Squad Ace BX3 is also good, and if you want to use her for her own combat and for getting that full tempo, then B-Sacred Seal is going to be helpful. Stronghold is going to be nice skill, but it's going to be limited to units like Mila that both want to have their defense and resistance, and they don't want to run something like Still Water, for example. An attack defense bulwark is also useful on many of the infantry units if you don't have Lagoose Friend or anything like that, which is more premium. And now taking a look at the Anima Mythics, I would put Heidrun right in tier 1 because she provides so much support, and she's so good as an Ether Raid's defense mythic, and she also has usage in Summoner duels. So she just does a lot of things, and she herself is really bulky, can stop Winter Edelgards from gale forcing your team. So even as a frontliner, she can work for your Ether Raid's defense. So no doubt, I think I'm going to be having her in tier 1. And then after that, I would have Freyr. So with any kind of good Ether Raid's defense mythic team, you're going to be seeing Freyr with his cleansing, and he does provide really good support. Heidrun is a bit more insane with the debuffs and everything and Divine Nectar, but still Freyr is really strong, and it's going to be a mainstay for a lot of people in their Ether Raid's defense. Mirabilis is also a versatile Ether Raid's defense unit by compressing the role of a mythic unit and a dancer into one, and she's a melee dancer compared to someone like Triandra, so she's not going to be getting baited out all that easily. And now after her refine and remix, she can actually hit a bit harder. So these three are the best Anima Mythics in my opinion, and are going to be used quite a lot. And then in tier 2, I'm going to be having Fomortis, who has fallen off quite hard with his combat, but again, roll compression is pretty good as a mythic unit, and also as a far savior or near savior. I don't think his near saving or far saving capability is that good compared to the top save units of that category, but again, roll compression is the thing. And then we also have Gulvig, so she can function as a nuke, but a lot of her pre-combat damage is kind of rendered useless against Breath of Life. And the thing is that she can have as many actions as she wants, but that's not going to be given to her if she doesn't survive outside of like first combat. So because a lot of damage reduction piercing is there, it's not going to be easy for her to survive to get her extra actions. So she's still going to be here despite her being a rather recent Anima Mythic. Unfortunately, that's the case with a lot of the combat-centric mythic units. And then in tier 3, we have got Zeros. So her support has got a lot better with Wings of Light Plus. So with a remix, she's definitely going to be able to function a lot better. But again, as an infantry melee unit, she's not going to be on the same level of something like Heidrun. Then we've got Arvel, and Arvel is a ranged mythic, so it's a bit better than being a melee mythic, and they can provide the support with the guard status. And then in tier 4, I've got Dumas, so he can also roll compressed like for Mortis and function as a near savior. But a lot of times he wants to run Upheaval Plus so that he can break the structures. A lot of times it is not going to be the safety fence of the enemy team, but still, it is useful. He's not the greatest Anima Mythic with his mobility, but with Emblem Celica, it has gotten a bit better. And then we've got Drusier, so she can function as a nuke, but unfortunately, she is going to be facing competition when it comes to giving some support. He does give you the exposure status, but that is pretty much it. And that is not a lot compared to the other top mythics. And then we've got Liv, so he can function better outside of Ether Raid's defense, but as an Anima Mythic, he's way too honest, and he doesn't really work with a lot of the other units that can just give you the support, which he's not really able to do. And then for tier 5, I'm going to be having Otter, who's going to be getting a remix and refine in November 2024. But I don't really have the highest expectations because of how Regan's remix and refine turned out to be. So let me know what you think about my Anima Mythic tier list. There's definitely a gap between tier 1 mythics and the rest of them. Tier 1 are just in a league of their own. Then we've got Eikthyrnir as an Astra mythic unit who can boost up your defense, and he's a colorless beast cavalier, so he does bring some new things for beast units, which is pretty exciting. So he has got his preferred weapon in Quieting Antler, which does give you Canto 2, which is good for the mobility without any kind of alarm skill, and he does have minus 1 special cooldown, making Fierce Beast into a 1 cooldown special. And at start of turn, if he's within 2 spaces of an ally, then he can give himself and the allies in 2 spaces the +6 defense and attack buff and the bonus doubler status. So bonus doubler status being given out like crazy is pretty insane, but we do have Mirabilis with the dull ult status that she can inflict after her dance. So that's something you'll have to watch out for, but it's definitely pretty solid with Ashera in the same season. And he also gives additional +3 buff to the highest buff on each stat, and this can go up to max 10. So that is really solid as a bonus doubler unit. And then for his own combat, if he initiates combat or if he's within 2 spaces of an ally, then he can inflict an ulti on foe's attack and defense equal to 20% of his visible defense added with 6. So this can easily go up to -17 at the bare minimum with the visible buffs that he has got. And then he also gets true damage based on X and also gets flat damage reduction based on 50% of X. So X is going to be the highest total visible buffs among the unit and the allies in 3 spaces. So the 3 space range is definitely pretty generous, and he can get a lot of true damage, and he also debuffs the defense by so much with his entire kit that he's going to be hitting extremely hard, and he's going to be one-shotting a lot of things here. He also gets the flat damage reduction, so that is good for being tanky, and then he does get the -6 attack and defense debuff, and also 30% damage reduction at the max with his Cavalry Beast transformation bonus. He also brings the first Beast exclusive special in Fierce Beast. So it's a 2 cooldown special, but with Eikthyrnir, it's going to be a 1 cooldown special, and it is basically a no quarter, but it does have a bit less damage output, so it is going to be 25% of your attack when the special triggers if you're transformed. If you're not transformed, then it is going to be 20%, and you also pierce the damage reduction of the enemies with your special triggers. So that is going to be a solid special to be run on many of the beast units, especially for Arena, where they had to run something like Blue Flame before, and now they can just run Fierce Beast, and even if they're not running Lagoose Friend, they can have the damage reduction piercing. Moving on, his base kit also has Attack Defense Excel, so Summer FM is going to be loving it, and this is going to be a good skill on so many of the slower Cavaliers that want to boost up their defense and also get that flat damage reduction, especially in the player phase, and you can also get the flat damage reduction in the enemy phase if the enemy triggers their special. So this is a pretty good slot A skill for him, and then he has got Divine Strength as the slot B skill, which is going to be removing the condition to transform, and after the start of turn skills have triggered on player phase and enemy phase, he can cleanse himself of any penalty. So this is kind of like Freyr cleansing, but only on himself, so none of the panic or any of the debuffs is going to be applying to him, and he's going to be getting the bonus doubler out of his weapon and just being a really strong unit. So that cleansing can be really good. And then he also inflicts -5 attack and defense debuff on the foe, and he also gets the guaranteed follow-up attack as a slow unit. He is at day 16 speed, and then he also heals up 7 HP after the combat. And then he has got 2 checks. So there's an attack check and then there's a defense check. Both of these take in the visible attack and defense into the account, so that's worth keeping in mind. So if he wins that defense check, then he's going to be inflicting the foe with -6 defense and attack debuff. And same goes for the defense check. So you can get a lot of attack and defense debuffs with this slot B skill along with his weapon. It can go into like ridiculous territory with like -33 and like -40 debuffs that he could do. So this is going to be a really solid slot B skill. I kind of wish that he got this with his slot C skill so that he could run Wings of Mercy in this slot B and he could function on the Gale Force teams. But still, at least he can function as a cleanup unit. And then he has got Beast Threaten, which is also for giving more support, and it does have that time pulse built in, so it can help you if you're trying to run Gale Force. Overall, Eikthyrnir is a pretty solid Astra Mythic unit, giving you support for your tanking teams with the bonus doubler, but like I said, you'll have to watch out for Mirabilis and her dull ult status. and he can even work as a Gale Force cleanup with Attack Speed Wild that he could run. We don't really have Attack Defense Wild, but Attack Speed Wild can still work out fine. And Fierce Beast is going to be the main special he's going to be running. And for the slots, he could try and run Breath of Life 4 because he does have pretty high defense. And even though he can already get the defense buff, Odd Defense Wave can help you with the tempo effect, which can help you if you're running Gale Force. So it's more used for the tempo effect, which he's easily going to be able to get with his high visible defense. And we already have his stats, so he's going to be having a Super Boon in defense and Super Bane in speed and resistance. No Super Boon in attack though, which is something I was expecting. And because of the visible defense and attack check in his skill, he can try and run a Squad Ace BT Sacred Seal to get the visible stats. But if not, then Attack Defense Catch and Attack Defense Clash are going to be both good Sacred Seals. Eikthyrnir is a pretty nice Astra Mythic, but comparing both of these Mythics, I think that Heiðrún is a lot better as an Anima Mythic. Now let's take a look at the Astra Mythic tier list. So in tier 1, I'm going to be having Plumeria. Being a dancer and being a Mythic unit is always helpful, and she could be used in any kind of team composition. There's also Seithr, and with a lot of the extra action units like Brattle Sharina and Brattle Embla and Winter Edelgard, Duo Gulfig, just having Seithr end the action of the enemy units while Gale Forcing is really solid, and she can also work in a lot of tanking teams by shutting down the turn of the enemy unit that might be a bit threatening. Now you can only shut down the turn of Heiðrún probably because she has a lot of resistance, but still in my opinion these two are the best Astra Mythics out there if you want to get the most quality and versatility. In tier 2 I would have Eikthyrnir. So I don't think that he's quite tier 1 material, but still he is really good with a lot of the attack and defense debuff, and he is going to be focusing more on his combat, and he can hit really hard with the true damage. So his combat is nothing to scoff at, and his support with bonus doubler is going to be helpful for many of the tanks and even for Gale Force teams. And then we've got Heiðrún. So her preferred assist is amazing, and because of her assist being in the middle of turn, it is not going to be getting cleansed by Freyr. And even the Ruse skills are not really all that insane. She can still function as a pretty solid support unit, and now she can even run Breath of Life 4 in her slot C, and she's by far the best heroic ordeal unit that you could run for the support. So Heiðrún is really solid. And then we've got Veil, who can provide you the scout support, which is helpful on many of the tanks. So all of these are going to be tank support units, but they can also clean up because of their high damage output. In tier 3, I'm going to have Ashera. She has improved quite a lot with her Refine and Remix. I kind of think that she is borderline tier 2 because of her insane damage output, and she can also get flat damage reduction. So that all is really good with the bonus doubler of Eikthyrnir. So if you have Ashera and Eikthyrnir both, you're going to be eating good with your Astra Mythic core. So she has definitely improved quite a lot. And then we've got Ratatoskr. So her support is not really as good as it might seem because she needs to use her action to have the green terrain. And even then it's kind of inferior to the High Dragon Wall or blocking or even Gatekeeper, who can just do it a lot better. And then we've got Regan. She didn't really get the best of Refine and Remix. She needed a lot more things, but she didn't really get that. So she's going to be in tier 3. At least she can help you get to the pots and also have the counter utility. And Ratatoskr can also provide you the same. Ratatoskr can Gale Force a bit better, but she does have that healing, which could throw you off with your Gale Force plan with your Wings of Mercy allies. In tier 4, I've got Altina, and a lot of the reason why she got better was because of guard bearing, but now we have got a lot more damage reduction piercing, so she's not the best flyer when faced against something like that, and she doesn't really give you any kind of support for ether raids, so she can work in Gale Force teams because of her special charges, and then you could just run her with Emblem Marth and Gale Force, but not the best compared to a lot of the mythics that are above her. There's also Naga, who can run High Dragon Wall now, so she can at least provide the warp blocking. And if you get rid of her preferred Thoughtsy skill, then I guess you could also use her with Soaring Echo, giving you the warping. And in tier 5, I've got Elamine, so how the mighty have fallen. So she's definitely not as good anymore because of Freyr. She has fallen off quite hard, and she has fallen to the point where I actually see many people run Arcane Charmer on her. That's how bad it has gotten. And speaking of bad, we have got Thor. Her combat has fallen off so hard, but at least she's going to be getting a Refine and Remix in November of 2024 along with Otter. So hopefully that could improve her, because I used to use her so much in my Gale Force teams, but now she just barely functions and her combat and support is so lackluster. So this is my Astra tier list. Let me know what you think about it. And the Eikthyrnir placement, he's not tier 1, which is quite surprising for a new mythic, but he's still really solid with his stat swing and the support and his insane combat. So we have got this banner giving you a lot of good value in the colorless pool, with Legendary Millilier being a pretty nice Omni tank, and also Mythic Loki as another Ether Rage defense mythic that you can get. Green also has value with Attuned Azura being an attuned unit and giving you that fodder, but Legendary Camilla's fodder is not really all that good and she might be a bit of a dud for many people. Red is going to be having Legendary Lincia and Kvasir giving you value, but Legendary Nana, even though she has got amazing damage reduction piercing, she has fallen off a bit when it comes to doubling the units, and her fodder isn't really all that good, and the most lackluster color is easily blue, which many people are just going to be avoiding because of Legendary Sida and Legendary Deidra. Mosu does have decent fodder, but that's pretty much it. And next month we should be getting a new theme banner, maybe pirate theme. August is definitely up in the air with what kind of theme they could have, and Legendary Claude and Wooler are going to be getting their remix banners, and we're going to be getting Choose Your Legends 8 in mid of August. So that is going to be the big banner which a lot of people are going to be saving towards. We're also going to be getting a double special heroes banner, and we might get a wind legendary unit. For the double special heroes, it is going to be looking something like this. Colorless doesn't really have a lot of options, so it's probably going to be an older duo or harmonic unit like duo Ymir, and red is going to be having Spring Chloe, who does provide a lot of value. And we could have a red wind legendary unit because it is going to be having color share with Fallen Lumera and also Emblem Ike, so that is going to be giving you a lot of value. And Nurgle is also going to be rerunning, so that is also another insane unit on the banner. So this is all the information I can give you for planning your summons better. I know just before Choose Your Legends, this is going to be a bit hard banner to sell, but a lot of the mythic and legendary banners don't really do that all that well unless they double up, and this time they doubled up. So I want to thank all of my YouTube members for their constant support, and you can click the link on your screen right now to check out my breakdown of this month's weapon finds. And make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell, because YouTube sub boxes are about as functional as the blue color share of this banner. So that's it, I'll see you guys next time. Thanks so much for watching and have a great day.